So how's it going, my Comicchat Army? We're here today with John Westhoff, the creator of Bulletproof Chicken and Bulletproof Chicken Nuggets.
Hell yeah.
Right?
And what was that?
CPS?
CPS?
Yeah.
D-Power, Drumsticks of Doom. I've had a couple in the last year.
Wow. So where do you want to start? Which book do you want to start with?
Well, since you were so excited about a book that came out about 10 years ago, we can kind of start back then, where it all started, and why that book is still gets people excited, and it's definitely my most popular thing I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, Bulletproof Chicken Nuggets. Is that it? Chicken Nuggets is the last one? There's not a third, or?
Well, we've talked about it for a while, but I still have so many copies of the first Bulletproof Chicken that, you know, we were trying to go through those before we made it to trade or did some sort of bonus story for a trade. We did one short story, I'll send it to you, for a digital-only anthology that was a spoof of the True Detective show, and that was kind of the final note on Bulletproof Chicken. But yeah, it's been, you know, it had the original release, Bulletproof Chicken, in 2012, I believe it was, maybe 2014. It had Bulletproof Chicken Nuggets, which was 2 prequels and 3 sequels all in one. And then it had the True Detective spoof in our anthology, Kingbone Presents. And at that point, Bob was like, I've had enough of this character that we made kind of as a joke when we were walking around C2E2 one year. And we moved on to other projects. But it's still, you know, I mean, as your wonderful review said, people still get excited about it when they come across it. It's such an easy sell at convention. People see that awesome 80s, you know, Contra spoof logo, and I kind of tell them, you know, it's an 80s action anthropomorphic, you know, it's exactly what you think the title would allude to, and it's just it's such an easy sell and a good talking point for us at many conventions.
Oh yeah, and it's the name, if anything, sells it. Chicken Nuggets, come on, that's gold. So what? So I guess, yeah, let's start with the one behind your head. Doomsticks, what is it? Drumsticks of Doom?
Drumsticks of Doom, which is not a sequel to Bulletproof Chicken, despite the drumsticks in the title. Sorry if anybody's disappointed about that. This actually about music drumsticks, not chicken drumsticks, but maybe we can do a crossover someday. But yeah, that's our latest one that's on Kickstarter now, doing really well. Over 4,600 as of talking to you. It's been my most successful dollar-wise. It's yet to top Bulletproof Chicken as my most successful I've been part of as far as backer numbers. That almost made 200 backers, so we're hoping to reach that as well. Break both of my milestones in one awesome Kickstarter. But it's about basically Black Sabbath, not the Beatles, became the most popular band in the world, and thus the universe was changed musically and otherwise. We follow our main character, Lana, who's just kind of an indie rocker who wants to make her indie music in a world of heavy metal. But of course, when she finds a magical pair of drumsticks, you know, all that goes out the window, and she's thrust into a mythical war with the lords of heavy metal. So that's the first issue is up. I'm working with artist Dan Doherty, who's an amazing artist. I think if people check it out on Kickstarter, you'll that speaks for itself. But hopefully the story I've created with Dan will match his amazing art.
So are you an 80s baby?
I am an 80s baby. I was born in 81. So, you know, my formative years were in all in the 80s, and then obviously the 90s, and looking back at nostalgia, those times of, you know, Dio and all those amazing bands that came out around that time.
Well, since I got you here in person, I just want to tell you, I love the story. Can't wait to read more from what you got. But will chicken ever show up in any of your other books, like in the background, or just?
You know, some of my books kind of, I feel like, have a shared universe. I would say Bulletproof Chicken is not one of them, but that doesn't mean, I mean, you saw the stories. They are very fantastical, so there's no reason. I mean, for anybody who hasn't read it, hint, he goes to space at some point, so why not?
Right. Yes. What is that one about?
So that was with my new venture, my independent publishing company, Part-Time Comics. That was our first release with Bulletproof Chicken co-creator and longtime collaborator Bob Ornelas. We wanted initially, just like Bulletproof Chicken, it kind of started as a one-off joke. Bob is a big fan of the character Constantine from the DC universe. And he said, hey, I've got an anthology series coming out. I need a story. Can you write me a short story? And I had kind of this one that I had thought of, and it was basically Constantine if she was a woman, or he was a woman. And I kind of pitched it to him, haha, it's real funny. It's Constantine, but it's a woman. And he's like, yeah, that's funny and everything, but I think you actually have a story here. And thankfully, when you work with longtime collaborators, they can kind of rein you in and realize, you know what? Let's not just spend our time making kind of a one-off joke, and maybe we actually have a character here. And he really helped, flesh out and develop Connie's character. And it stars Constance Dar, who is a child social service worker for children who are possessed. So in this world, possessions have become common. So of course, when that happens, of course, the wonderful American government has to make a poorly run agency that helps children get through that. And she's been working there for about a decade, and it kind of picks up the story where she's really burnt out, but these incidents are getting much more severe and much more intense. And that's where our initial one-shot came out last year about this time. We had a very successful Kickstarter campaign. And we're very excited to have her be part of the Part-Time Comics family. You can probably see her cover, her amazing cover by Bob. Did about 3 years ago we started that book, and finally, after some hemming and hawing and not really sure I wanted to continue with indie comics, I'm glad Bob pulled me out of retirement and said, let's finish the story.
Where can people get all of your books at? Do you have a website?
So we do not have a website. We do have a web store at Store Envy. It's Part-Time Comics with an X, .storeenvy.com. If you search us on Google, Part-Time Comics again with an X, we come up on Instagram, Facebook, Store Envy. Linktree is our best route, linktree.com / Part-Time Comics shows all of our links there. It's the easiest way, but having the unique name, I think, makes it easy to search on any search engine.
Is King Bone Press a real press, or you just put that up there for the joke?
So King Bone Press was, Bob took like an old gamer screen name he had, and he was publishing his own comics when I met him back in about 2009. And he was like, yeah, it's just the name I used, to kind of give us a semi-professional look. And, I joined up with him, and for about 10 years, we published under King Bone Press until about 2019 when he finally called it quits. So yeah, it's semi-professional, I guess you want to call it. We never really had major distribution, or we were never in Diamond or anything like that. But it's good to have a professional name with your, even if it's a kind of a silly name.
Are you in any comic shops right now?
We are, thankfully. We've always done well. I'm local to Chicago, so we have some amazing shops here. Challengers Comics, Quimby's, Chicago Comics are some of the ones we've sold very well in the past. Right now, Part-Time Comics is only in 2 shops, Pulp 716 in Lockport, New York, and The Collective in Florida, which a lot of us in the indie comic know. Danny down there in Florida working at The Collective, he's very adamant and very excited about getting indie comics in his shop. So, that's one of the things that's great about indie comics. You may not be in every shop, but if you work hard enough and you put out a good enough product, you can be carried on some of the shelves with your favorite books out there. So right now we're only in 2, but we're hoping for more this year.
Okay. Yeah, I think you told us all the social medias, right? Part-Time Comics.
Yep, we're Part-Time Comics. For some reason, Instagram gave us the part_time_comics. But again, if you search the name, you can come across it.
Comic-Cons. Are you going to any Comic-Cons in Chicago this year?
We did our first con as Part-Time Comics with my longtime collaborator and good friend Ray Wagner here in Indiana. Northwest Indiana Comic-Con was about a month ago, or even less, a couple weeks. That's our only one scheduled so far. Obviously, with global health issues and things like that, we're kind of taking a slow approach. And I'll also be honest, I'm very excited. C2E2 has moved to summer for the first time in its history, in its 12 years or so. It's going to be in August. So we're definitely considering that. That's our hometown show. We've done well there before. But as a small press company, with table fees at bigger shows being so high, it's not always worth the 3 days. I mean, I'd almost rather just take that money and put it into advertising or giving away books to great shows like yours, or I'd rather invest that in other ways. So you probably won't see us at too many huge shows, just to kind of be, you know, a little more responsible with the limited budget we have. But definitely, you know, the smaller shows, we're looking into like Cherry Capital Con in Michigan, and there's some other local small ones. Of course, again, with the global health issues, a lot of the smaller ones have gone by the wayside. So we'll have to see what pops up.
When does your Kickstarter end?
Our Kickstarter ends March 12th. So as of talking to you today, we'll have 2 weeks left. It ends on a Saturday. So just a couple weeks left. Again, we're already to our initial goal, but you know, with small press publishing, there's kind of the minimum funding you want, and then there's the next. So we're pushing towards a stretch goal, which will increase the size of the book at no cost to the backers. We'll make it a bigger story, pulling from a lot of the lore of heavy metal songs and things like I mentioned, like Dio and others. So I think we have a bigger story here. But if not, if we don't get there, I still think it's a great one-shot comic. I think people will be excited about. But it will kind of slow down what we want to do with the story for a little bit while we kind of reassess, you know, budget. But if we can get to the $6,000 goal before we end in the next 2 weeks, I think, you know, we could start making it into a bigger mini series and see where it goes issue by issue.
I think it would be cool to make a playlist of 80s music for the comic.
Yeah, I do. For Kickstarter backers, they do. You can get a Spotify playlist. It's a little bit of a mix. You know, again, the comic is a lot of, you know, heavy metal history, but it's also got a lot of independent artists on there, which again, you know, kind of influences the character in the book. So I think it's a nice mix. So, you know, for people who like that, there is a bonus if you sign up to the Kickstarter. We'll shoot you over a playlist you can listen to while you wait for it to get funded.
I did not know that. That was so cool. Where do you draw inspiration?
Well, I do draw a lot of inspiration from music. I am very inspired by comics, especially that try to utilize music. Obviously, comics, as you know, don't incorporate sound. So I'm always very impressed and always kind of thinking about those who make you feel the sound on the page without the sound. Things like Chasing the Bird from Dave Chisholm and Scott Pilgrim, and Doom Boy is another comic that I mentioned. Just awesome musically themed comics. But really just independent comics in general. We have an awesome community. I mean, you've had dozens of amazing creators on here. You know, I get inspiration from my peers, cheering each other on. Real life, I mean, I am a social worker by day, so I get a lot of inspiration for, you know, stories without obviously breaking confidentiality of my clients. I do get a lot of inspiration from the work that I've been able to do in the Chicago area for about 15 years.
That's got to be a hard job, man. I think you might be our first social worker we've ever interviewed. We interviewed a lot of people that like have day jobs and do comics. We'll talk about it after, but let's see. Shit, I forgot my question. Give me 1 second. Oh, do you get any drumsticks? Are you gonna do drumsticks with the Drumsticks of Doom?
So there is an add-on tier for guitar picks, which, you know, it's funny, it's about drumsticks, mostly because drumsticks are huge and hard to ship. But I've had a couple people ask, so I am considering maybe even doing a giveaway. You know, that maybe the sticks that I used to record the intro video that I did for the Kickstarter or something, you know, as a special thing. But I did actually look into custom sticks, you know, put the logo on there and everything, and they are a bit pricey. So we'll see. You know, picks, you know, guitars, that's, you know, cheap, easy stuff, not like, you know, drumsticks, big, expensive stuff. So for now, no drumsticks, but we'll see. If enough people ask, maybe next time around we'll do that.
Is the book finished?
The book is not finished. The book is about 70% finished. And part of that is kind of waiting to see what the response is, and then Dan can knock out the bonus pages that we want to add. So we've got a few pages left, but yeah, it is black and white. So, you know, no coloring stage needs to be done. Just about a dozen pages left, and a dozen pages to letter put it together. We've got the amazing covers by Maria Wolf and Kaylin Smith already completed. So that part's done, and Dan's, you know, done almost 2/3 of the book already. So he, being a professional full-time artist, not like me, part-time comic, he can he'll knock it out, you know, well before we're supposed to ship. but I wanted to give that buffer. You know how it goes. You don't want the delays. Shipping and other things are real hard in our community right now. So paper shortages and all that. So we'll be Dan will be done with this, a few weeks after the Kickstarter ends, and we'll get it edited and we'll get it all put together.
Do you ever plan on going or doing comics full time?
It's not really part of my plan. I think very briefly when I started, was kind of thinking, oh, well, what would that look like? But I'm very fortunate in the work I do. It is hard, like you had said before. It is a challenging job, but it is a rewarding job. Both for myself, hopefully for the people I work with, and financially, I think it keeps stability for my family that being an independent contractor might not, self-employed person. So for right now, that is kind of the tongue-in-cheek reason I chose part-time comics. I'm committed to as much time as I can do this, as my side hustle, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Okay. What inspiration would you give to newcomers that want to make comics?
Well, the thing I often say to, now I feel like the old man of comics, I've been doing it for 12 years. I usually say, as I would in my day job, I would never encourage someone not to shoot for the moon to if your number one goal in life is to write Amazing Spider-Man, of course, I would never, tell someone not to shoot for that. But I would also say, what? Let's talk about some more realistic goals in there. What are you really looking at? I want to write Amazing Spider-Man. Or do you want to write comics? Because if you want to write comics, you can do that. This is one of the mediums where, like I said, if you work hard enough, you can get your books on the shelf right next to the Amazing Spider-Man. You can do the Amazing Bulletproof Chicken, and it'll be on the shelves, maybe not in 3,000 shops, but maybe in 3. And that's really rewarding. So it's just like music, a lot of the theme of the book we've talked about. If your goal is to be the number one band on the Billboard charts, it's probably not going to happen, no matter how hard you work, depending on what stage of your life you're at. I'm not telling you not to shoot for that goal, but if you only shoot for that, you will burn yourself out. And that's the same in comics. If your goal is to sit down and write the next 100 bullets of a 100-issue series for Vertigo or Black Label or whoever it is now, again, it's probably not going to happen. But if your goal is to write an awesome mini-series of a crime comic that you really have wanted to do, then you can do it. And when you do it, you'll feel very satisfied. So go in with realistic goals. Don't go in with these huge, lofty goals only. Have those as kind of your 10-year plan, but your 1-year plan is just to get that one comic done, and then that second comic. As a lot of people will say, start with a short story. That really helped me. I was part of a ton of anthologies early on, and that's really, I think, helped me really be a better writer overall. So start small and then build from there.
All right. I love it. Is there anything you want to say before we go? Anything we didn't touch on?
No, I appreciate your time and flexibility, as a again, a part-time creator and a full-time parent and a full-time, job. I know how difficult these things can be, but we appreciate, people like you who cheer us on. And, again, I joked, that the book is old, but it never gets old. When people are excited about your book and share them and take time out of their day to do that. I have no delusions of grandeur that I'll ever be, Ed Brubaker or Alan Moore or anything like that. So having these opportunities to interact with people like yourself who get excited, it's very rewarding for me, and a part of why, I retired, so to speak, a couple years ago, and you know what, I got excited to come back and just be part of the community again.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to come talk with us.
Yes, and we have plenty of copies of Bulletproof Chicken. My wife has been teasing me for the last 10 years that I way over ordered, so please, we have plenty of copies if people are interested for good prices. So please hit us up.
Will you sign them for free?
Yeah, except for yours, which I forgot. So I'll have to get you a second copy or meet you at a convention someday.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
What? You mean you haven't subscribed to Comic Chat Authority? Oh, come on. Subscribe already. What are you waiting for? It's no big deal. Like, man, don't forget to tell him to hit that like button. Yeah, that too. Just subscribe.